Yeah.
And so my hope is that there's still change possible within the system and institutions we have, because I don't know where this goes. Now, we could spend all podcasts talking about craziness. I mean, there, a lot of people are talking about that part of this is effectively a pretext for Trump to be able to take over institutions in a martial law sort of way, right? To ensure that he can stay in power beyond,
Yeah.
2020, 2028. But we won't go there because we'll need at least multiple episodes to explore that. But I think there are realistic ways to get it. I just think people need to, they actually need to pressure the people who they consider their allies to up their game and get better. We now know, yes, there is a bad orange man out there.
Exactly, yeah.
So we'll see.
It's not enough to say what you're not going to do. You have to say what you are going to do instead, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, it does mean that, one of the arguments I make is that, we suffer a global leadership crisis, right? Because if you think about, so we talk interchangeably about leaders and managers, like say men or, senior leaders, are they a leader or are they a manager, right?
Yeah.
And there's, in my opinion, a big difference, right? Because for me, a leader has, holds the vision and message and to some extent, the overall direction of where we want to go. And it's typically a more emotive sort of message, like, I don't know, for anyone making less than £1 million a year, I'm for you, or whatever number you want to put, and the thing about it is that our opposition, if you will, whether it be labor here, the Democrats in the U.S., or obviously the equivalent in other countries, is that they don't seem to know what leadership is anymore. Whereas the bad guys, in this instance, they're great at it. Make America great again, which is one of the greatest, most powerful political phrases.
Yeah, it's a simple message, isn't it?
It's a simple message. I mean, Boris had it as well. Get Brexit done. Say the famous red bus. 350 million a week to the NHS. Take back control. All these simple, easy to understand. They are actually stories as well.
Yeah,
they are narratives in not even a sentence.
Yeah.
So that's actually kind of amazing how good. And when normal people have no narrative versus narrative, they almost always will go to, even if, I'm sure a lot of people didn't really think, we're going to get 350 million a week to the NHS anymore. But they liked it. So, well, at least he's got a message.
Yeah, it was something straightforward that they could understand. Even if it ended up not being the case, it was something they could read on the side of a bus, literally. And that was more than they would probably get in any other way, maybe. It was something that they could understand.
Yeah, that's right. And so I think that to me, and that, I mean, I think it's part of what, in terms of what I do, in terms of, why I speak to people, why is TED popular? Right?
Yeah.
Think about it. Why? I mean, it's literally a lecture series, right? I mean, we've had lectures for almost as long as people have been able to communicate.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't need the internet. You don't need the 1,500 person audience. You can have two, and that's you can give a keynote to an audience of two, if you will. And obviously, you've had great institutions like the BBC and others who have recorded stuff and made it available on a broadcast basis, right? And I think what TED have really done well is they have been able to bring storytelling techniques, even if it's the most basic 3-part story structured technique, to communicating oftentimes very challenging and complex topics, whether it be in sciences, economics, technology, so on and so forth, making those things previously seemingly out of the reach of mere mortals, as somebody's like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's one of the most common expressions that people want to have after listening to a decent TED talk about something, and I think that's it. To me, again, it just speaks to, if we could master how to communicate, and then I think some of the problem that we have, and you will see this with technologists oftentimes, is when their product doesn't succeed, right? They will often blame the customer, saying, well, those idiots didn't get it. That's the problem. So that, the problem is our customer's too dumb, and we've got to figure out how to educate them, right?
Yeah.
And that's, unfortunately, I guess a curse of being on the left is that, you are so in love with the morality of what you're trying to do that it buys you a certain level of moral license where, like, so whatever you're gonna say, bread to everyone, whatever, and then when people reject that message for whatever reason, you get angry at the person and wondering how could they not see the beautiful moral superiority of the things that we're advocating here, right? And I just think it's like, well, you've just done half the job. It's just like building a product and going, well, fuck the marketing. Excuse my language here, but this is like, that's just bullshit PR. It will sell itself, right?
Yeah.
And as you know, as we all know, that no, that's just part of the job, right? And then if you leave it to the other guys who are selling the snake oil, but they're brilliant in marketing, then what happens? What actually happens is that people do then buy the snake oil. They take the snake oil and go, oh my God, it killed my daughter. That's too extreme. But you get my point, is that it doesn't work, and it actually destroys trust in the whole category.